Hello, welcome to LinkedIn Mastery for VCs. My name is Kevin Mucho. I'm an email copywriter and LinkedIn ghostwriter. I'm not going to waste your time with introductions. If you want to get to know more about me, check out my LinkedIn profile in the link below. So why did I decide to make this course? To put it simply, I was very curious. I was curious about how the venture capital world works and how VCs approach content. Because I have worked with people who are not in this spectrum, in this area, and it seemed to me like something really challenging. I asked myself if I was ever to work with a VC, what would it look like and how would I help them? And so I conducted a survey. Yes, I conducted a survey and I collected data, which led me to creating this course. So let's start. We're going to begin with the mindset. I know it sounds cliche, but the mindset is a really, really big component of creating good content. And one of the things I've seen it affect is your ability to be persistent and your ability to see the need for iteration and to bring iteration in your strategy whenever things go wrong. So the first thing to cultivate in order to really see results is to remove the idea from your mind that you need to go viral in order to get results. If you talk to people who have went viral, they will tell you that it didn't bring them the leads they needed. It didn't bring them the results that they were looking for. So the strategies I'm going to give you are not strategies that will make you go viral. The other thing you will need to cultivate is that there is always room for improvement, but there's also a time to stop. What I mean by that is there are times where you write a piece of content, you can see there's room for improvement, but you don't have that much time. And so what most people do is they procrastinate on this piece of content and they spend days working on it instead of actually posting it, move on to something else, and then come back to it later. So to sum it all up, 1, don't aim to go viral, and 2, don't aim to be perfect. It will affect your persistence and your ability to iterate. All right, so let's talk about the content strategy and why it's important to have one. See, the content strategy revolves around getting crystal clear about your goals, about who you're targeting, and how all this is reflected in your content. So the platform we're going to focus on with this content strategy is LinkedIn. Why LinkedIn? Well, because LinkedIn is a very powerful platform, first of all. And with the survey I conveyed, I realized that LinkedIn is underutilized by VCs. And when I say underutilized, I mean when you look at how some VCs claim that they use LinkedIn to put themselves out there, but you look at their profile and the content they create, and you make the conclusion that they really don't know what they're doing. And those who know what they're doing get the most out of LinkedIn because LinkedIn is extremely powerful. I have gotten clients from LinkedIn. I have made friends from LinkedIn. I have built a certain authority because of LinkedIn. And one of the advantages of creating content on LinkedIn right now is that only 1% of the billion users create content. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. You have a platform that has a billion users and only 1% of them create content. Now, if you've been around LinkedIn and looked at the content, you can pretty sure tell me that the content on LinkedIn is not the highest quality if you compare it to Instagram or Twitter. So even that 1% that creates content on LinkedIn is not doing the best that they can do because the competition is not really that high. Another important stat I thought I would bring up is that LinkedIn is 227% more effective at generating leads. Looking at the conversations I've had with B2B marketers, B2B salespeople, and B2B founders, I would say that they're quite satisfied with this platform and they don't want to try anything else because LinkedIn is strictly designed for B2B to succeed. Now, back to our content strategy. The first thing we need to take care of is our LinkedIn profile. Why? Because your LinkedIn profile before anyone looks at the content you create, they look at who you are. You can write the best content in the world, but if your profile doesn't talk to the people you're targeting and doesn't reflect who you are really wasting your time. Personal branding experts on LinkedIn tend to charge a lot of money for doing profile audits and helping people improve their profiles because they realize that a lot of LinkedIn users don't understand the value of having a profile that reflects your business goals, your target audience, and who you are as a person. Now, just a small disclaimer before we move into how to curate your LinkedIn profile. I want to say that I strongly believe in personal brands more than company brands. If you are taking the advice that I'm giving here and trying to apply to your company brand, please find another course. This course is strictly for personal brands on LinkedIn, not company brands. All right, so your LinkedIn profile is the place where people visit when they're curious about you. They can visit when they have searched about you, when they read your content, when they heard about you somewhere. It's just a place for curious people. So people who come to your profile are genuinely interested, which is why LinkedIn has a feature for looking at your profile views because you can now see who is interested in me. The LinkedIn profile has been used as a resume for many years, but I'm going to change your perspective and think of it as a landing page instead of a resume. You see, LinkedIn has sections where you showcase your skills, volunteer works, experience, the schools you went to, everything. It's really curated for it to be a resume. But for a venture capitalist who is looking for startups to work with and people to collaborate with, you need it to be curated for your sourcing process, meaning your LinkedIn profile needs to be a landing page and not a resume. There are three main parts of your LinkedIn profile that turns your profile viewers into leads or into customers. These three parts are the headline, the about section, and the featured section. The good thing about the headline is that everyone sees it, whether they visit your profile or not. From a post, they see it. From looking at your likes, they see it. If you comment, they see it. The headline is always below your name and your profile headshot. And the people who are truly interested in you never really forget what's written on your headline. Because I remember I was on a call with a prospect and she asked me, what is it exactly that you do to nurture someone's audience? And my profile headline said exactly that. I help you nurture your audience through your email newsletter and your LinkedIn content. For your headline to be effective, it has to have three elements in it. The first element is that it has to specifically showcase that you are after a target or a niche. Meaning, the person you're looking for, the person you're trying to help, has to immediately see themselves in your headline just by reading it. The second element is that it has to be results driven. Meaning, the person who is reading it, who you're targeting, has to immediately see what they're going to get by interacting with you. The third element of your headline is authority. You have to command authority. And this is very crucial because it's where legitimacy is seen and trust is seen as an opportunity. You see, building trust is hard. But with commanding authority, now there's an opportunity to be trusted. And as you're listening to me, you might say, but Kevin, how is it possible? How am I going to put all the three elements in one headline? There is so much I can say, but I promise you it's very easy. First things first, when you talk about the target or the niche, look at your VC firm or the people you usually help and try to categorize them in one word. For example, does your VC firm only help people who are in New York? Does your VC firm only help fintech startups? Does your VC firm only help certain startups that have achieved a certain goal? That is how you categorize them. And that is where you become specific about the niche or the target. Now, for it to be results driven and to command authority, sometimes it goes hand in hand. Meaning, if you have helped a startup maybe reach to 50 million a year, you can mention that. And that is results driven because that is something you have done before. One of the best ways to think about your LinkedIn headline is to think of your headline as a bait. You're going for fishing and you have a bait. It has to be attractive. It has to look delicious. It has to be attractive enough for someone to come look at it and see what's going on. As you can see, those are three examples of three different VCs who are targeting three different types of startups and who bring different types of results. Now, the About section. The About section is simpler than the headline because it is the longer version of the headline. Think about everything you put in your headline and make it longer. The headline was the bait, but the About section is the taste. The headline is the bait that attracts the fish and they actually get to taste it. And one thing to not forget to put in your About section is your testimonials. The things that actually prove that you have done it, that you have done what you say you do. The Featured section. The Featured section is one of the most misunderstood things on LinkedIn. A lot of people use the Featured section to showcase their most liked posts, the posts that went viral, or they use the Featured section to put thousands of links there for people to reach out to them. If you want your Featured section to be effective, I will suggest you to use one link. I repeat, if you want your Featured section to be effective, I am suggesting you to use one simple link. My link is the link that leads people to the discovery call. Some other people's link is a link that leads them to their contact section on their website. Some other people's Featured section is just a way to write to them, to their email, or to call them. So it's really a way to get people to reach out to you outside of LinkedIn. But if you use it to showcase your most liked posts and things that are irrelevant to your leads and to the people you're actually targeting, then be ready for crickets. All right, so we are starting the most interesting part of this course, which is content creation. But before we dive into content creation, I want you to lay down your brand direction and your target audience before you start creating content. And this has to be in alignment with your VC firm. What this means is the things you're going to write about, how you're going to present yourself, the things you're going to talk about, and the people you're going to target shouldn't be contradictory to what your company's brand is or what your VC firm stands for. When writing your pieces of content, you will have to categorize them into content pillars. So what are content pillars? A content pillar is a key theme or topic you want to focus on in your content and become known to your audience on social media. Most creators have a combination of several pillars that form the foundation of the content strategy. So, what are the three main content pillars? There is TOFU, which is top of funnel. There is MOFU, which is middle of funnel. And there is BOFU, which is bottom of funnel. I'm going to show you how they differ, why they're important, and why you should diversify and use all three of them as a venture capitalist, and why they will help you in your sourcing process. In the top of funnel, you want to focus on three things: your audience's curiosity, your audience's attention, and their interaction. This is where the metrics you care about are the likes, the comments, and the impressions, because that's what really matters here. Now, the way you can use it at this stage, your goal is to attract the attention of a broad audience, including entrepreneurs and startup founders who may be in the early stages of exploring funding options. Your content can be informative, educational, easily accessible, just to capture the interest of individuals who are not yet familiar with you and your VC firm. And the things you talk about here are your personal story, your unpopular opinions, and some industry trends about your venture capital industry or startups, things you agree with, things you don't agree with, a little bit of knowledge there, something you learned, something you want to teach, stuff like that. The middle of funnel is where you build trust, provide value, and nurture your audience consistently. What this means is, on this stage, your focus shifts from gaining attention to nurturing your leads and building relationships with the startups, founders, and entrepreneurs. This is where the people who have shown interest in your VC firm or your content, they get to see your investment approach. This type of content should provide deeper insights and resources that help entrepreneurs understand how you as the VC can add value to their startup. This is where you showcase your portfolio and your success stories. To increase authority and to build trust, you share your case studies, success stories, testimonials, and company's portfolio to demonstrate how much work you have put in and the results you have brought into the market. One other thing you can add is to offer in-depth resources such as workshops or masterclasses, or even some downloadable documents where you help founders attack certain specific challenges. Because you don't want to only talk about what you have achieved, you also want to help. Because this is the game of content. You are helping. And by helping is where you get more trust. The bottom of funnel. This is the most boring part of the content pillars, but it's where the money is. The bottom of funnel is where you focus on converting leads into investment opportunities. At this stage, you will focus on having content that is personalized, that is persuasive, and that converts the leads into investment opportunities. So here you will focus on converting leads into investment opportunities. How do you do that? You will have to tackle the personal, specific challenges that the startups you aim to help are dealing with. I repeat, this type of content will help the people you're targeting to tackle the specific challenges that you help them deal with. Meaning, if the solution that your VC firm offers tackles a specific industry, a specific startup that is at a specific stage, this is the content that mentions that. And the way you will know that you're executing the bottom of funnel correctly is you will find that you have lower impressions, lower amount of likes, lower amount of comments, and lower amount of profile views. This is where you know you're doing it well, because the bottom of funnel is targeting a specific person, that person that you actually want to work with. So we're done with the content pillars, and in the description below you will find templates that will help you use the content pillars in an effective way and a way that will help you stand out on LinkedIn. During the survey, I found that a lot of VCs have trouble with communicating their investment thesis on social media. And I found that the reason is because there's either a lack of clarity, a lack of relevancy, and a lack of enthusiasm. What this means is sometimes as a VC, you forget to tailor your thesis to your target audience by highlighting aspects that are the most relevant and appealing to them. Now, the lack of enthusiasm can easily be seen by the language you use. If it's too professional, then it's boring. You have to be as human as possible. And by being human, you send the message that you actually care about the startup founders you want to work with. All right. So while conducting the survey, I noticed that a lot of VCs struggle with distributing content, repurposing content. The content they wrote for maybe their Medium article and distributing it to LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. Some mention that they have no clue on how to do it. Now, a personal opinion before we dive into that, I would like to advise you to not do it if you don't have a big audience. It's detrimental to repurpose your content to different platforms if you have a small audience. The best thing to do is to focus on one platform and create as much content as possible to conquer that platform and then distribute it later. All right. How do you repurpose content? It's actually very easy when you can write long form content. And what I mean by this is if you have an article or a newsletter, this is really easy. It becomes easy to do. This is a system I came up with, which I used while working with a client. Is we would write a newsletter or a LinkedIn article, and then we would repurpose it into smaller formats. The best way to think about it is to think of this as a hierarchy. The newsletter or the blog post comes first, and it's a long form. And you go lower, you reduce its volume, its size, and you summarize it. It becomes a LinkedIn post. You reduce it, make it smaller. Then you take the most unpopular opinions from the blog or the most attention-grabbing statements, and you turn that into tweets. Now, there are times where you will need a lot of data to know where the industry is going, where the startups you are trying to reach out to are doing, what is going on with your industry and the people you want to work with, and you will need Twitter for that. The best way to go at it is go on Twitter and follow key influencers or thought leaders, startups, and organizations in your industry. Then follow key influencers and thought leaders and startups and organizations in the industry of the people you're targeting. Then maximize Twitter lists by categorizing them. And every time you need to look at something and collect information, you just visit the different lists that you made, and that's it. Now, to finish off with this course, I'd like to show you how you can maximize your presence on LinkedIn and how it can help you with your sourcing process. Now, your presence on LinkedIn should never just be posting content. I would actually argue that a lot of people get more results from LinkedIn by leaving comments. Yes, comments. Comments are very crucial on LinkedIn, and very few people leave engaging comments on LinkedIn. I will leave a template below that will help you write engaging and thoughtful comments that make people interested and visiting your profile. The second thing you should do is use Sales Navigator. It's really one of the best tools that LinkedIn has. This will help you connect with the types of startup founders that you want to connect with, especially if you don't have time to search for them. The third thing you should use to maximize your presence on LinkedIn is the DMs. You should be interacting with fellow VCs on LinkedIn. You should be interacting with startup founders you once worked with or the ones you want to work with. And you should be interacting with other thought leaders that have the same mindset as you or who see the world in the same way that you do, you would be surprised how many people can actually reach out to you and recommend you to other startup founders that they know. I'll also include a small template that will help you send DMs that are not very pushy, but that can lead you to having conversations with people you want to work with.